This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Joe Gallagher here at Gallagher's Gym in Bolton. Joe, first and foremost, how are you doing?
Yeah, good mate. Like you say, hot, sweating, tough session today. So we're all in a good place up here.
Obviously, it was a tough session today for a few of the different guys who are all preparing for different reasons. But let's obviously start with the one who has a fight announcement, Natasha Jonas. She's getting ready to face Terry Harper next Friday night. Just talk me through her camp, Joe. How impressed have you been?
No, I know lockdown sometimes it was hard for a lot of people, but I think it was the best thing for Natasha. She was due to have had the fight, but she's come back into camp. Come next Friday, she'll have 10 weeks in camp. Training's gone very well. We did some work early on, and then we brought in the right sparring partners. And as you're seeing today, 2 different sparring partners. And but it's hard to go on how well a camp is. All that matters is the result on the night. But I know if Natasha Jonas performs in the way that she has done in camp and carries that into the ring fight night, she wins that bell and rips them away in good style.
How do you actually expect the fight to play out? How have you prepared Tasha to kind of deal with Terry's style, and what do you expect Terry to bring into the fight?
Well, listen, Terry, there's a couple of things with Terry when we've sat down and watched and studied her. When you do clip her, she goes for a walk. She's not keen up close. Bit of a dirty fighter up close. Hits the back of the head of the opponent. I don't know how many times. I think I'm going to be onto the referee about that. But I think she'll box and move and jab and move, come in spurts, throw her shots and get off again and run. And then I think she'll most probably want to try and come and stand and trade late on. But I do think she's going to try and box and nick rounds. I think that's what they're going to do.
I know Tasha's been waiting for ages for this type of opportunity, her first world title bout. What do you think, in your own opinion, it would mean to her to be victorious next Friday night?
Listen, for the age of 36 and the work ethic that she's put into this camp, her determination, her focus, left no stone unturned. She's just been embarrassing some of the fighters in the stable, but she's locked on. And a lot of people are going on a loss to Vivian Obanoff. And boxing don't work that way. You lose to this one, that one beat that one, so that one should beat that one. It doesn't work like that. We've been in the game long enough, and it'd be a huge achievement. And like I said, Sasha, there's no pressure on us. Bookies have got us a big underdog. We're just quietly going away doing our work. All the pressure's on Terry. She's doing the Sky promos with all the elite women athletes. She's tipped as the next Katie Taylor big star opponent. She's 23. She should beat a 36 over the hill girl. That's how they see. So we'll see who's over the hill come next Friday. But it'll be a fantastic thing for Tasha, not only for Tasha, but for women's sport, because Natasha and people begin to lose sight of that. They're not showing respect for Natasha Jonas, which I'm getting annoyed about. Natasha, like Jane Couch, was there on the front line for women's boxing. Boxing, first British woman to qualify for the Olympics, first one to represent Britain at the Olympics, medalled at Worlds, medalled at Europeans, everything she's done as an amateur, like Jane Couch, Katie Taylor, had that great 2012 Olympic fight with Katie Taylor. People are talking Natasha down. There needs to be a little bit more respect shown towards Natasha Jonas. She's paid her dues in the sport, and if there's a God out there, she'll be rewarded handsomely next Friday. But people have got to remember what she's done for the sport and for female boxing.
Boxing behind closed doors as well. We've seen Matchroom's fight camp being erected, and Eggington Cheeseman will give us our first taste of what to expect for the coming shows as well. But how have you at all, in fact, tried to emulate or kind of get a feel for what Tasha should expect next Friday night by trying to copy that type of atmosphere at all?
No, not really. Natasha, like Terry Harper, I don't think neither of them would be all that bothered. They were amateurs, they were on the boxing circuit. Natasha's used to going around the world for Team GB, trying to qualify in events in empty sports halls. So, no, not really. And I think Terry maybe might affect Terry more because she's got used to having big crowds behind her for a big title wins or IBO and WBC. But for Natasha, no, I don't think we've replicated it. It's just what's got to be on the night. I think that the main thing is it being outdoors, that both girls are kept warm beforehand, and weather conditions, like I said, we don't want it to be raining and wind blowing rain across the ring, so No, we haven't prepared anything different there. The girls are well experienced enough. Well, Natasha is, and whatever come May on Friday should be prepared for.
What's kind of your plans with regards to next week, then, Joe? When do you expect to be travelling down, and how do you think obviously yourself and Tasha will cope with the bubble of Matchroom's fight camp?
Yeah, me and Tasha got to sit down and have a think about that. I do think the Matchroom bubble for a week there and that, I think that's a way bit too much now. When you look at Premiership footballers go down the night before, get tested, play the next day. I see Hennessy Sports, you only have to turn up on the Thursday for your fight Saturday. I think the same with Frank. And you see the government relaxing all the time. They've brought masks in now. And I just think we're all adults, we're not silly. Me and Natasha, we have our own bubble up here. Natasha's a carer for her mum, I'm a carer for mine. And I think some of them days I think we'll be better off, safer up here than being down there. As long as we're there on the night for the fight, I think that's all that matters. But we've got to sit down and talk about it at the end of the week. Obviously Natasha's a mum, she's got a child off school. We've got to see what's best for Natasha Jonas. But at the end of the day, we'll be there for the win and we'll be there for the fight, and they're the things that matter.
Obviously, just to move away from Tasha as well, we saw Marcus Morrison here today. He hasn't got anything yet, but he has said to me previously, he said to me today, he'd love to fight Brian Rose. He wanted one of Cash and Wellborn, but they are scheduled to face each other. Is that possible? Do you think we could see Marcus versus Brian Rose?
I think so. I think it's a good fight. I think Brian Rose has the appetite for it. And I do think it's a good fight. It's a good fight up here in the north. Whether Eddie Hearn wants to put it on, or Frank Warren, or Mick Hennessy, well, that's a good fight. That for I wouldn't say it's a top of the bill fight, but it's a good chief support, entertaining fight. And I think it's one that hopefully we'll see made sooner rather than later.
Just touch on some of the other guys in the gym as well, Joe. Start off with Hosea Burton. Obviously, I didn't see Hosea today. MTK starting to bring their shows back as well. What's the latest, if anything, do you have with regards to the Golden Contract Tournament?
No, I spoke to Jose yesterday. Jose has been in the gym the last 4 or 5 weeks sparring Chad Sugden for his fight Pitters, and he was in yesterday and he just said to me, that it might happen the end of September. So hopefully he's in the gym, he's sparring. He's got so much on at home at the moment, that's why he wasn't in today, but he'll be in tomorrow. But hopefully he'll be ready. So hopefully whenever back end of September, Jose is being told anyway, we're looking at something, so we'll be prepared for that. I just hope it doesn't clash on a Callum Smith Canelo delayed fight if that ever happens.
We will come on to Callum very shortly, Joe, because I know it's something that everybody's going to be keen for me to ask about. But just to kind of stick with the rest of the team, Paul Butler, I didn't see Paul today. What's the latest with him? I know you mentioned Prince Patel last time. Anything going on?
No, listen, Paul's in the gym, in and out of the gym. He's just ticking over. But like you say, we mentioned the Prince Patel. There's an appetite for it from what we're seeing on social media and that. But like I say, we've just got to wait with this lockdown and opponents. There's not that many in this country that can fight, and I just thought Patel was a good fight for Paul Butler to tick boxes. And like I say, we're all trying to move forward, but one hand tied behind our back at the moment, aren't we? And I'm hearing now Matchroom might do a show in September, a bit of a test live event with a bit of a crowd there. So if that goes well and Frank Warren and Mick Hennessy start getting crowds in, then maybe we can start looking then at putting Paul out in October time.
Callum Johnson as well, another man who I never saw today. I know that last time I came up, he was kind of waiting for hotels to open back up so he could come up and get into camp. Any news or an update on Callum and where kind of his coming months or the rest of his career will kind of play out now?
Listen, Callum Johnson's been in training since January the 1st. He was due to fight for the European title in March, then put back to April Newcastle, then put to Dylan White May, then there's a lockdown, then was approached fighting in the Garden, but would he take a pay cut? And Callum said no, so Callum's in the gym, he's training like a lunatic. You can all follow him on social media and see who it is, but he'll be back up here very soon, training, because hopefully he'll be part of Callum Smith's team if we get this fight with Canelo.
We'll come on to Callum now because obviously he's been mentioned a couple of times there. From what I've seen, from what I've kind of been told, he seems to be the front runner, Callum, to get the Canelo fight. It's just a matter of very small margins with regards to finances, in around £1 million difference for what Callum would like as a purse. Can you just update us on the entire situation, Joe? Where does everything lie between Canelo and Callum Smith?
I think you find out more when you log onto Twitter in the morning when you wake up. From the reports, when you look at ESPN in Mexico and their press, there's something like there's a $1 million difference somewhere along the lines, and then you see Canelo having issues with Dazn lawyers or having issues with Oscar De La Hoya. We don't know what's going on back there. All we know is Callum Smith's put his name in the frame. He's taking less money. And we want that fight. I know whether Reynoso in an interview was turned around and says we want to fight Callum Smith. That's the kid we've picked. I've been told Dazn want Callum Smith. There's no going back. That's the kid they want to make. So however they come around to give Callum the money, whether it does be between Golden Boy, Dazn, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, that's the figures. They've just got to get the figures out and the fight will be made. I think the likelihood of being September the 12th now, going up against a Roy Jones, Mike Tyson, I think would be very hard. I don't care whether you're a boxing fan or a casual, but I won't say freak show, but the event, people will tune in and will pay to watch that. It's the not knowing, the wondering, and that's very hard to go up against that. I don't care whether you are Canelo or not, and if they do, it's a big gamble. But if they're wanting to launch Dazn in the UK, to get the subscribers, I think they may have to look at moving a day. I don't know. I'm only speculating. Like I say to Callum every day. He says there's no update, not heard anything. And like you say, we get sometimes journalists from America phoning, or you get a text saying congratulations, I've heard you got the Canelo fight. I come into the gym to Callum, say, hey Callum, have we got it? Not heard anything. So it's like the other week, someone says, oh, Callum was injured. I'm like, where's that come from? But there's people in America also as well putting rumours out there to stop Callum getting the fight. So like I say, it's up to Eddie Hearn, Dazn, Golden Boy, whoever to get that purse, get that fight, and let's go. Like I say, it'll be a great fight, and I think boxing needs a super fight. We're hearing reports now that the Lomachenko fight is done for October the 3rd. Hopefully Tyson and Joshua, their respective fights by the end of the year. So the big fight's beginning to come now, and I think Canelo will be fuming if he doesn't get another Cinco de Mayo in. But if he wants to be September the 12th, Callum Smith will be ready for it. They're not going to catch us, as you're seeing today. Did 10 hard rounds today, and he's in the gym, and he did a check weigh today, and we're all ready to go, but we're not going to get caught with our pants down, as I say.
Do you know if there have been talks, though? Do you know how or if there's been any negotiations, and if there has been, how they have gone?
No, from what I believe, that there has been negotiations. What Callum has said, it's out there that there's a figure that there's 5 on the table out there, and that was even reported in the British press. And I was saying to Callum, is that true? Because all journalists seem to know your business before we do. So, like I said, there's negotiations. There must be if Eddie Reynoso was saying they want it, and Dazn was saying they want it. So there's negotiations. Last week, Willie Monroe Jr. became a front runner, and John Ryder was the week before, or Lemieux, or whoever else is out there. So, listen, you've just got to play the game, play the sweepstakes, but we're training and we've got to be ready. And I know Canelo's ready, so it's up to the people in the higher positions to come up with the finance to pay the fight. We're not after silly money. Well, Callum isn't what your Kovalevs and your Jacobs were, do you know what I mean? So, I'm only talking about stuff that's already out there, really. Like I said to you, you wake up in the morning and you find out on Twitter more than you do yourself.
What's the cut-off point for yourself with regards to kind of training Callum for a fight with Canelo? Do you have a date in mind when you want to say, right, if he's not here, by then, if he's not signed, we need to focus on another opponent? I spoke to Callum earlier, and Callum said he imagines it's getting close to that point. Is there a date in mind that you have at all?
Well, I think that there's a point for him being mentally switched on for Canelo. You're talking September the 12th, 6 weeks. But then if that doesn't happen, I expect Callum to be out last weekend in September, first weekend in October. I need Callum Smith to be out. So he's 6 to 9 weeks away. It's just having that mindset, right, it is Canelo, we know what we're doing. No, it's not Canelo. It's whoever, do you understand? So that's it. I think that's where that cut-off point comes. But we are training to fight within 6 to 9 week period.
Callum mentioned earlier, Billy Joe, that's still a name which is creeping up. Do you think it's possible that we may see, or not should, but we could see Billy Joe versus Callum Smith if Canelo doesn't take place?
It's always a possibility. I see Billy Joe linked to Andrade as well. Billy Joe, Daniel Jacobs. There's lots of names out there. So Callum said he'll fight anyone and everyone, so yeah, it's a possibility.
Just away from Callum, on to another Smith brother then. Liam Smith, we haven't seen Beefy today. You know, how's Liam doing? Obviously, he's got his newborn as well.
Yeah, no, Liam's great. He's been in the gym twice a week, sparring Sam Eggington, and then once a week. So we did his last spar with Sam last week. He's in the gym, he's ticking over. And the same with him, it's just waiting for this international ban, this quarantine, being able to talk about him fighting in America, fighting opponents out there. So yeah, it's the same for Liam. It's just like Butler, like Callum Johnson. We're trying to move forward with boxing, but with one arm behind our back. But the fighters are in the gym, they're ticking over, they're sparring, they're coming in and doing a sparring session a week, doing a couple of bag sessions a week. They're away from here, they're doing their S&C. So they're still ticking over. No one in this gym has switched totally off. No one, I'll never have that. And Liam, same thing again. He's just wanting to get going.
Final thought I want to touch on before we just touch on a few other things in the boxing world. Stephen Smith, I've had a few conversations with Stephen, and Liam and Callum have both said he's kind of in that place now where he doesn't know what to do. He came back after that horrific ear injury, picked up a few wins, and then he goes into lockdown again. So he doesn't know whether to effectively continue with his career or to hang up his gloves. What do you think will be the most likely outcome with Stephen? Do you think we will see him back in the ring?
I think we will do. I think Stephen's like 30-40% of boxers in the country, whether they're after lockdown, whether they're going to come back to boxing. They found other ways of making money. They've had to get a job. They've got families and children to support, peer pressure from the parents to call it a day, especially fighters who are on ticket deals. Promoters aren't interested in them because they don't really have to sell tickets. So I think Stephen's like many out there. It just depends, like you say, what opportunities are presented on the table. But I think I would see Stephen Smith back in the ring. I don't think his career's finished yet. Whether that's by the end of this year, the beginning of next year, we'll just have to wait and see. But I do think there's another big fight in Stephen Smith yet.
And you also mentioned, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. They're agreeing to face each other later this year. Just what was your kind of reaction to that, Joe? We know that we've seen a lot of the legends of the sport back in training kind of teasing comebacks, and they've come out and said that it's all agreed and they're going to be facing each other. Did you actually think that we would see, two past legends of the sport to get back into the ring at the time when we were seeing the videos and what have you flying about over social media?
No, I didn't. I know Mike Tyson was coming back, and I thought it'd be an exhibition of such. We've seen in the past Chavez and Jorge Acra having exhibition fights in Mexico, and I thought it'd be something along the lines. But when you're putting someone of the likes of Mike Tyson in a ring, Mike ain't having an exhibition, is a Mike's mindset, and that's one thing I worry for them. Like Roy Jones hasn't been out of the ring that long. He only fought like up to 3 years ago, I think. It's Mike reawakening that mindset when he seemed to have got over a lot of issues when he finished and became happy in life, and it was in hangover and was just enjoying life and back in and having that mindset to get in and hurt somebody and everything else. And it's good to see him, but I think it's also sad. It's like when we watched Sugar Ray Leonard too long and we've seen Leonard Hearns 3. I think it was a Leonard Duran 3, and it's just like, it's way past it. Do you know what I mean? And but Roy Jones Jr., do you know what I mean? Both good talkers of the sport. I just don't want to see any of them get hurt. I know it's over 8 rounds. Whether they've got the fitness capability to do 8 rounds, most probably have. But it's so sad to see people taking unnecessary punishment at that age. And I don't want to be ageism, like, do you know what I mean? And then you have a Holyfield wanting to do it now, and other fighters. And I think Big John Fury's to blame for it all, really, for coming out saying he's the hardest 50-odd-year-old man in the world. I think Mike Tyson, Holyfield and everyone's seen that and thought, no, you're not, we are. So that's joking aside, John, don't be starting coming for me. But do you understand? So it is, but saying that, though, it is a fascination. I do feel people will pay, people will tune in, people will watch it. I think there's YouTubers going on it now on the undercard of the event, and it is what it is, but it's sad. I don't think neither fighters are stuck for money. I just think it's something in the system what to get out. And now there's talk of Oscar De La Hoya wanting to come back, and said to Beefy, throw your name in the mix for that. Tell Oscar, don't do 154. We'll fight you at 160. And yeah, like I say, Oscar De La Hoya wanting to come back, and I don't know. It's you can't make sense of 2020, can you? It's like the world's gone mad. So I seen someone the other day say, can we just reset it? There seems to be, the world's gone mad at the moment. But like I say, it'll be interesting to watch. People say, well, you watch it. Of course I'll watch it. They're two great fighters. I just don't want to see them get hurt or go out and it'll be remembered that way. We all remember Mike tearing it apart at age 21 coming through, and Roy Jones, and if both fighters could have retired way back then before they got beat, they would have been right up there as pound for pound greats.
Just away from that, and I just want to come on to PBC. PBC announced their cards for the coming months ahead just a matter of a couple of weeks ago. Was there any in particular that kind of caught your eye, Joe? We mentioned Charlo and Derevyanchenko downstairs. Are there any other fights that PBC announced which in particular you're keen on?
That one that you mentioned, I think that's a really good fight. What others did they mention?
Davis and Santa Cruz.
Good fight. I just think Gervonta Davis is too big, too strong. I think, no disrespect to Liam Walsh when he fought him, you could see that there. Santa Cruz, I think he's always been known as Al Heyman's like golden child, whether it's a big payday for him or whatever, or he's matured, because Leo's always looked still like a baby, no matter what his age. He's physically developed, and they fancy it. They may have sparred in the past, and they now know something that we don't. But that's a good fight as well. So it's a good lineup of fights coming up. But I do like the Derevyanchenko fight. I think that's a really good fight. And like you say, they're all coming forward. Eddie Hearn with his lineup for the next few weeks. Frank Warren with his. Mick Hennessy. I think the promoters are trying to make the best fights possible out there. And it's hard in this climate, and it's hard asking fighters to take pay cuts in this day and age when they're still going in the ring and putting their health on the line. Do you know what I mean? It's still a very dangerous sport. Just
a word on Charlo Derevyanchenko. What are your thoughts on it, Joe? How do you actually see that fight playing out?
Derevyanchenko's a very tough fighter. He was offered to Liam Smith. Obviously, Liam said yeah, Liam would fight anyone, but and he was in the running for the Canelo fight. It's a very tough fighter, but I just think Charlo's got to be on it 100%. He can't slip up, and if he doesn't slip up, I just think he'll win it, but it'll be a very tight decision.
Final thing, Joe. Luke Campbell, Ryan Garcia seems to be getting ever closer. Just your thoughts on that one, Joe. If it does get completely confirmed and we have the fight date, what have you announced? How do you think that fight will play out?
I think it's a very good fight. I think Luke Campbell's acquitted himself well in the two fights with Jorge Linares, Lomachenko. Garcia, like they are when they're coming through from that part of the world, very bullish, very full of confidence, has speed, has a nasty, a bit like a Nazim Hamid, he's got that nasty streak to him, nasty snap to him, and I think if he hurts Luke, he won't let him off. He'll throw everything at him in a Kawasaki way, fast hands. But Luke's experience of being in with Linares and a Lomachenko and the game plan, knowing that he can perform at that level, and I think he can acquit himself really well. He just can't get tagged. If he gets tagged, I think Garcia will be all over him, but I do think Luke Campbell can cause him a lot of problems in this fight. It's a real good pick and fight.
Final thing, Joe, I promise you this. Saw Anthony Crolla earlier, and I was watching him. He was just every now and then he maybe just throw a jab himself. He'd look in the mirror, maybe do a little feint, just kind of looking like he's got a little bit of a gleam in his eye. Have you ever looked at him when he's helping you out and thinking, what's going through his mind?
He's in here like 2-3 times a week helping us out, and I think them little things he gets excited about when he's watching the sparring or it's getting near a fight with Tasha, so the whole gym's excited. But he'll be there 1 minute and he'll be helping the pads, and the next minute he's over there doing chin-ups, or he'll be over there doing dips, or he'll just jump down in the ring and do 30 press-ups. And Anthony's always been in the gym, he's always fit, he always looks after himself, but he knows himself, he'll never fight again. He knows that he won't fight again, but he likes being around the gym. There's nothing stopping him punching bags, doing chin dips, but he knows himself he'll never fight again. He just likes to keep fit. It's in him, isn't it? So he has them giddy moments, but I'm telling you now, he knows that there's no comeback, so I don't have to worry about that.
In fact, I know I've said this is your final question, and it's be the third time I'm going to say it now, but I forgot to ask you. Eggington Cheeseman, obviously, we've seen Liam doing some sparring with Sam Eggington ahead of that bout on Saturday night. Just what are your thoughts on it, Joe? How do you expect the bout between Sam Eggington and Ted Cheeseman to play out?
Well, if Sam Eggington's been doing what he's been doing up here sparring and taking on board the advice Liam has been giving him and what John Pegg's been telling him. I've been hugely impressed with Sam Eggington. I know people say he's been in the wars, had a lot of hard fights, a lot of miles on the clock for a young fighter. But if he turns up like he has been here, I expect him to beat Ted Cheeseman. Saying that though, Ted Cheeseman, he's got a point to prove. Obviously, he's coming back. It's a good crossroads fight for him. He's got good movement, Ted Cheeseman, can punch. And you think to yourself, well, has Cheeseman got to catch Sam Eggington on the way in and hurt him? Or is Sam Eggington going to grind him down like he did with Frankie Gavin and Paulie Malignaggi? Do you understand? And you've got to look at them performances, and they make you sit up and take heed. Like, Sam's more than just what people think he is. To beat someone as skilled as Frankie Gavin and Paulie Malignaggi, maybe they weren't the best versions of themselves. It's still a good result. He still went in there, he still kept focus. And I think when Sam Eggington is focused and on it, as he has been when we've seen him up here, I think it's a nightmare for anyone. But I think it's a really good fight. And Sam Eggington has to win well to get the decision.
Joe, we will finally leave that there now. I promise I haven't got any more final questions. It's been a pleasure to catch up with you. Obviously, best of luck next week, and I'll speak to you soon. Once again, thank you for your time, and thank you, Speed to Boxing Social.
Cheers, no problem, Andy. Thanks for coming up and seeing us all today.